Hey friend, what if I told you that the key to unlocking your best year every year is letting your inner 6-year-old take over? Yes, your inner child, the one who dreamed big with no limits. In this video, I want to talk about brainstorming because I think it's your secret weapon to an epic year ahead, okay? Welcome back to my friends who've been here before, to my new friends, hey. My name's Labria Jones. I'm an over 40 empty nester working towards living this one and only life to the fullest with a lifelong goal of self-mastery. And I'm sharing the things I'm doing, the things that I'm trying, the things that are working, the things that are not working in the hopes that it helps you live your life to the fullest as well. But when it comes to planning and productivity, I need to drop off some street cred, okay? Because I've spent over 20 years as a project manager and a very long time juggling a full-time high-paying career and running multiple businesses. So I'm a productivity girly, okay? Okay, let's get into it. Here's the thing. We often trap ourselves or put ourselves in a box when we only think about what's realistic. And we set goals based on where we are right now, not thinking about where we could be. And that mindset can hold us back from even considering some of our best ideas. When I make space to brainstorm without judgment, something magical happens. Me and my 6-year-old self uncover things I thought were impossible, but I also come away with goals that excite me and feel meaningful to me and goals that push me to a newer level. One of the biggest reasons why I like to brainstorm before I start planning and setting goals for the year is because brainstorming with my 6-year-old self gives me the opportunity to reconnect myself with the version of me that didn't see limits or boundaries. When I think about the 6-year-old version of me, that girl wanted to be Janet Jackson. And I don't mean be like Janet Jackson. I mean, I wanted to be her, which is really weird because I also wanted to marry Michael Jackson. I don't know how that was gonna work. But anyway, that version of me did not see any limits. She didn't see the idea of being Janet Jackson or marrying Michael Jackson as unrealistic. I mean, I get it. I was also 6, but there's something to be said for that level of imagination. And it might sound silly, but it's also fun. We want this process to be fun. The other thing it does is it unlocks creativity and clarity about your core desires. So if we use that same example and we say it's not realistic to be Janet Jackson, obviously, right? But thinking about how my 6-year-old self wanted to be Janet Jackson, I could tap into what are the things about Janet that I adored so much that I wanted to be her. So if I didn't sit down thinking about, you can't obviously be Janet Jackson, I shut down the opportunity to even make it to the point of, well, what about Janet Jackson do I admire? What about Janet Jackson did I want to embody? This is why I like brainstorming, because it just unlocks so much creativity and it just gives me the space to think beyond what's realistic or what I gotta do or the fact that I need to lose some weight. Like, every year, we all have the same goals. We want to lose weight. We want to get in shape. We want to save money. We want to pay off debt, blah, 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 blah. But what about living a fulfilled life? What about unlocking core desires that are going to make it so that when I end the year and when I find myself at the end of this journey of life, I really feel like I enjoyed this life. I really feel like I lived it to the fullest. And I can't get there by just checking boxes of being healthy and saving money. I've got to really understand what makes me happy and what makes me feel fulfilled. Now, when I'm brainstorming, I have 2 rules, just 2 rules, 2 rules only. We ain't gonna have a whole lot of rules, just 2. One is dream without limits. If you mess around and go back in time to that 6-year-old girl and you think, I want to be Janet Jackson, write it down. Just go ahead and write it down. Like, dream without limits. If you go back to that 6-year-old boy and you think, or 6-year-old girl, let me not make this, gender specific. You think, I want to be an astronaut. I don't want you saying, I'm 40, it's too late to be an astronaut. I just want you to dream without limits. That's what I do. So number 1 rule for me when I'm brainstorming is dream without limits. Okay? The second is the thing that's going to help you do the first, which is judgment free. There is no, girl, what you talking about? How are you 46 years old talking about you want to be Janet? Like, girl, grow up. There is none of that. There is no judgment. This is a judgment-free zone. All right? Okay, now I want to give you a few of the prompts that I use for brainstorming. You are welcome, of course, to use your own prompts. In fact, if you have some good brainstorming prompts that have been really good for you and really helpful for you, or that you've seen across the YouTubes or the internets, please drop them in the comments. Let's share, let's build out our brainstorming prompts. But here are the ones that I am using for myself. Okay, the first one, I'm smiling so big because this is the one that I do have the most fun with, but it's also the one that like I have to be conscious of being judgment free with this one. So the first prompt is, what are the big, crazy, seemingly impossible dreams? So basically, if you had unlimited resources, unlimited knowledge, all the money in the world, what would you do? What would be the thing that you would do that is big, crazy, and seemingly impossible? What would be the thing that you would do? One of mine is, if I had all the resources and all the knowledge, I have always dreamed of having a self-sustaining community for my family. I have a very big extended family. My mother has 7 brothers and sisters. She's one of 8 children. And so I have, I think, maybe 30 plus first cousins. A lot of my family lives in public housing, and a lot of my family is concentrated in South Florida. I have some family that's in Tallahassee, where I live right now, and a little bit of family that's kind of like in Carolinas, but most of my family is concentrated in South Florida. And one of the things I have always dreamed of doing is building kind of a housing community that is sustained by the people that live there. And the people that live there is my family. So there's a daycare on site, there's a computer lab slash, study space on site as well. Facilities management could be handled by my uncles who run a landscaping business. So the janitorial work would be run by some of my cousins that would live there. And so they wouldn't necessarily have to pay rent, but we all basically have to sustain the community. And it would be enough space where we could rent it out to make some money, but they wouldn't have to pay rent because they are helping to run the community. So like if there's a daycare, some of my cousins could run the daycare and could be caregivers at the daycare, or one of my cousins could work in the front office, things like that. So it doesn't have to make sense. I feel like I'm trying to make it make sense. And the whole point of it is it doesn't have to make sense or sound realistic. But if I had unlimited resources, I would create a self-sustaining community for my family, for us to all live together, and for no one in my family to ever worry about having a place to stay. I feel like I'm getting teary-eyed, but that's something that I would love to do. Big, scary, crazy, seemingly impossible dreams. I love to chat. So in the comments, let me know what one of your big, crazy, scary, seemingly impossible dreams might be. Drop it in the comments. Let your girl know. Since I told you my business, I'm gonna ask for yours. Plus, I like for this to be interactive. I like talking to y'all. I like chatting with you guys. So let me know in the comments. The next brainstorming prompt I do is write down some of your, I'm looking at my notes. Hold on. What are some of my big, scary dreams that aren't so crazy and maybe not impossible, but it's definitely hard? And I'm using the word scary on purpose. I am using the word scary on purpose. I lean into fear. I'm not gonna go and preach a sermon about how I feel about fear, but I do want to call out that fear is not our enemy. Fear is my ally and my co-conspirator to a life well lived. None of us make it out of this life without being afraid, right? And so we may as well embrace fear. And if I'm going after a goal or I'm going after something big, it should be scary, because that lets me know it's exciting and it's big and it's important and it's new, right? And so I am using the word scary very intentionally here, okay? Okay, so let me tell you one of my big, scary dreams that's not so crazy. And maybe not impossible, but definitely hard. That takes a long time to say. It's a long prompt. I want to write a movie script, a screenplay, if you will, a screenplay that gets picked up by Will Packer and he actually makes the movie. And there's a very specific reason why it's Will Packer. There's a romantic comedy that I want to write a screenplay for that's kind of based on a different version of my real life, like a different diversion of my real life that I think would be a cute romantic comedy. Fun fact, Will Packer went to my college. We are both FAMU alum, and he did his first movie in Tallahassee, my hometown, on FAMU's campus. It was called Chocolate City, and his second movie was Menage a Trois, and he did that one, and he released it in Tallahassee as well. I don't think he filmed it in Tallahassee. I think he filmed it in Atlanta. Him and Rob Hardy, his partner at the time, released that movie in Tallahassee, and I remember going to that movie and thinking, a FAMUan did this. Like, the movie wasn't that good. He knows this. The movie wasn't that good, but like, I was so impressed that he was actually doing something. I'm going off on a tangent. The point is, like, if I had a big, scary dream that's not that crazy and maybe not that impossible, but like really, really hard, is to write a screenplay and have that picked up by Will Packer. Another one, I'll share one more with you. I would love to write a novel that gets adapted into a movie. And that one doesn't have to be Will Packer. There's a dream I had that was super poignant. And I've been wanting to write it as a novel, but I see it as a movie, if that makes sense. So those are my two big, scary dreams that don't seem that crazy or that impossible, but definitely hard. Definitely. The next journal prompt, and see, we're just kind of going big to, smaller. The next journal prompt that I like to use during my brainstorm is, what are some of the big dreams that are scary, but not impossible, and are likely within reach? We're all about the big, scary dreams over here, okay? What are some of the big, scary dreams that aren't impossible and are also within reach? Two of mine are owning properties in multiple countries. So owning a property, I would love to own a property in South Africa. I would love to own a property somewhere else. It used to be Colombia, but prices have gone up so far in Colombia. It's crazy. But I would love to own an international property, or more than one international property. And two, I would love to fight in an amateur boxing match. I did say crazy, guys. I've always loved boxing. I take boxing classes. My uncle boxed, my brother boxed. I like boxing, y'all, and I actually really want to fight in an amateur boxing match. I really do. It's within reach. Another prompt that I like to do during brainstorming is, what are some of the things I've been talking about doing for years? Like, what are some of those things, like, if your friends were to come and be like, girl, if you don't stop talking about that, right? Or if you had to say that to yourself, like, child, you've been saying you're going to do X, Y, Z for forever. What is that thing? What are some of the things that you've been thinking about doing for years? Put that on your brainstorming list. Like, write that down. Write down the things that you've been talking about for forever. One of the things I've been talking about for forever is shooting pool, like being really good at shooting pool and trying to join a team. That's one of the things for me. Another journal prompt for brainstorming is, what are some of the things I've noticed that I'm interested in? For me this year, I did not realize that I am actually really interested in filmography and videography. I feel like I have really been paying attention to people who teach you how to film yourself. And I've really been watching videos about documentaries and how to build documentaries and stuff like that. So I'm thinking about exploring that a little bit more. Think about this for yourself. What are some of the things that, if you had to look and pay attention to the types of videos you consume, the types of things you just kind of perk up around, what are some of those things that you just realized you might be interested in? And then the very practical journal prompt is, what are some things you just need to do? Like, you just really need to do this. One of the things that I just need to do is, I need to update my estate documents. So I'm really, really big on making sure that I have a plan for what happens when I leave this earth, because we know for a fact that that is happening at some point. And I don't want my daughter to have to figure out how to manage her grief and figure out how to handle all the things that I have. And so I want to make that process as easy as possible for her. But my documents are a bit outdated, so I need to go and update those documents. I just need to do that. And so that's something I need to put on my brainstorming list so that I can assess that when I'm deciding what to turn into an actual goal for 2025. So think about, what are some things you just need to do? You just need to do it. Do you need to go get your blood work done? What do you need to do? You need to start taking vitamins? You need to go and pay that friend back this year? Like, what you got to do? What you need to do, child? So all of that was just brainstorming, all right? All of that was just brainstorming and putting things out there that might turn into goals. That's what we were doing. We were journaling things that might turn into goals, but now we are going to start whiteboarding. And so this is the point where all of those things basically get to audition to be goals, okay? Now that my mind is open and my creative juices are flowing, I start whiteboarding the things, the dreams and the goals that I wrote down to consider for goals for next year. So that is what I'm about to do for the whiteboarding session. Now, here are your options to do this. There's a couple of options to do this. Over the years, I've done this on a big white wall with sticky notes. I usually take some sticky notes and I put them on a wall to do this, but this can be done at your desk if you're more of a digital girly. There are apps like Mural. I think you can do it in Canva as well. I even think if you have a Box account, Box has something called Canvas where you can do this there as well. You can make a Google Sheet, whatever your heart desires. You can do this on a big piece of paper, whatever, again, your heart desires. I personally prefer to use the sticky notes and a white wall because I think the movement gives me a lot more creativity and just kind of gets my energy going and the juices flowing. So I actually truly do prefer to just get some sticky notes and use a wall or a whiteboard or something like that because I think movement helps. That's what works for me. Now, here is where we are going to differentiate between dreams or desired outcomes and goals. All right. This is where the rubber meets the road for things that are actually goals. We might have written down, I want to be Janet Jackson. That ain't gonna happen. This is where we start to get real. This is where the adult comes in and starts to think about what of these are actual goals and what of these are desired outcomes. And some of these things might end up being actions as well. But I try to be very clear about what's a goal versus what's a desired outcome. And I'm gonna go into detail about that in the next video. But really quickly, I just wanna call out that a lot of times people set goals that I think are desired outcomes or dreams because they are things you don't control. Like setting a goal to get 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. You have no control over whether or not somebody hits that subscribe button. None. So that is a desired outcome. But a goal that can help you get to that desired outcome is I'm going to post content 2 times a week on YouTube every week consistently. That's a goal. I think it's very, very, very important, and it helps with our efficacy, or helps with our self-efficacy and our belief in our ability to reach goals when we set goals that are things we can control. Okay, so in this whiteboarding session, what you are doing is looking at all the things that you wrote down and you're basically putting them up on the wall to say, is this a desired outcome? And is this a goal? And is this something I even want to consider for 2025? I really love brainstorming. Brainstorming is like opening a door to a room full of possibilities. When you let yourself dream without limits, you create space to see opportunities that might not have been there before or might have been hidden from you before. And here's the best part. Those dreams you wrote down, some of them might not be as impossible as you might think. So please dream big, friends, okay? I hope this video was helpful. If it was, let me know by hitting the like button. Also, I created a template to help guide you through this annual review. And it includes the brainstorming prompts that I just went through and my definitions for dreams, goals, and actions. All right, so there's a link below to download. I will also link it up here. As a reminder, this video is part of a series on preparing and planning for 2025. So don't forget to check out the next video, which is all about turning those dreams into actionable goals. So be sure to check that video out, and thank you for watching.